it's highly likely you are shortchanging your HiFi system. That's right, you spend all this money in gear and components and cables, and you're shortchanging it. We're here to talk about vibration control today and how much of a difference it can or can't make. Because let's be honest, there's vibration control that makes your system sound worse, and there's vibration control that makes your system sound better. Much, much better. So today we're talking about a topic that's many people is probably pretty boring and they don't spend much time thinking about it. I came into this topic accidentally, and we're talking about vibration footers and how you fight vibration in your system. How did I come into this accidentally? I bought myself a nice Tiger maple rack. It looked good, went to all the forums. Some people say racks make a difference. Some people say they don't. Some people said use wood, don't use wood, whatever. I then looked at the true, we all know the name brand, high-end vibration racks. They're beautiful. But guys, I don't have the kind of money to spend 10, 12, 15, 20,000 plus on just a rack. And if I did have that kind of money, I'd rather spend it on gear. I'd rather spend it on bigger speakers, different gear, cables, something to me that I would get more value out of and more enjoyment than spending all that money on a rack. But vibration is still really important. And I discovered that by accident when I had the Luxman integrated. There was a chestiness when I had the Klipschler Scala speakers I could not get rid of. I tried moving the speakers, I tried moving the speaker positioning, the seating position, I tried sound absorption material. It all helped. I could not get rid of it though. And then I had a product come along that was specifically vibration footers. And when I put them under my gear, it was like a wow moment. That chestiness cleared up. It sounded more open, more airy. It was a noticeable difference in sound. So that was kind of my first taste of, okay, vibration is a real issue. And you stop and think about it and it makes sense. I mean, not only do you have vibration from within components, you got the power transformers, you've got all the different electronic components that are buzzing in there. They give internal vibrations, but you also have external vibrations. My fine F704 speakers, I'm sitting here looking at them, they each have two 12-inch drivers. I've got a sub. The sub is 16-inch driver. There's a lot of vibration in the room. A lot of different things are making that happen. So it makes sense and it's logical that we need to fight the vibration. Now, some gear spends more time and more effort and more energy, no pun intended, trying to fight vibration than others. Like for instance, my K22 here, Antipodes Audio, spends a considerable amount of time talking about their footers and how they're trying to isolate the components. My VAC integrated goes through a considerable amount of effort with vibration isolation and absorption in their components for the best sound possible. So it's definitely a known topic, but you reach a point where all of this gear has got a variety of design considerations, and in the end, they can't make the gear 100% vibration fighting and rejecting because they don't know what type of rack you're going to put it on. They don't know what your room environment is going to be. So they kind of bring you there, and then it's up to you to get it across the finish line. But not every vibration control is the right move. There are basically two different types. You have the decoupling and you have the coupling. You know, we've all seen the spikes and we've all seen the rubber or some sort of rubber that are going to decouple it. And it's going to depend on the type of flooring you have, if you're putting them under speakers, or the type of rack that you have, and the shelf, and what's going on with the individual components. Now guys, you know I'm 100% truthful with you. I've got no motive here. I call it as I see it. I never say anything bad about a brand or a product, so long as it doesn't blow up. But I will tell you whether or not it's a sound that I personally like, or whether it's something that personally worked for me in my system. Now, if it does or does not make me like it or work in my system. That's not to say it's going to work or not work in your system. So it's a very tongue-twisting way of saying, you got to try it. Just because it doesn't work for me doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. But I will tell you, I did try the ISO acoustics, the bronze. I put them under my streamer, I put them under my DAC, and they actually, in my instance, on the wood shelf, made it sound worse. I have since found out from several different designers and people that are much smarter than I am technology-wise and engineering-wise, that it's typically not a good match when you start putting rubber products and things like that on wood shelf between components, that it can bring out a deadening of the sound, a dulling, a slowing, a lethargicness, and just an overall blah. And that's exactly what I experienced. So to be fair to ISO Acoustics, I'm sure if I had a different type of shelf, or maybe I didn't have it on a slab, or there are so many variables in which these would work, because there are so many people that say they work. So I'm not speaking ill of them. I'm saying they just didn't work in my system, and they now reside in my draw. Which brings me to today's Sound Chaos Vibra 68. These things are really sexy, and you can get these in a maple, a walnut, or carbon fiber finish. This is the carbon fiber. Each one, whereas with the ISO Acoustics, you have to choose what your weight rating is, and then you're kind of stuck. If you get, for instance, I can't use these, which are designed for the streamer, under my amp. My amp is almost 90 pounds, my integrated 2 amp. These won't work under that. They won't work under my fine audio F704 speakers, which are well over 150, 160 pounds each. The Sound Chaos, on the other hand, is rated for up to 60 kilograms each. So I can very easily take these and put them under my DAC, my streamer, my amp, my speakers. So it's really great in that regard that when you buy them, you're not hindered by what year you have or where you use them or where you're going to put them. So they're much more flexible in that regard. I will also tell you what I like about these is that I could put these under, I'm going to link to their website down below. I could put these under my amp, my DAC, and my streamer for a significantly smaller investment than if I were to buy a true high-end rack. I priced high-end racks, I looked at them, I love them, they're great. Couple of issues. From a looks point of view, they're not wife approved. And I am in a mixed use room here, very large room. It's about 22 feet wide and 30 feet long, and we've got the kitchen and a little dinette area, and this is the entertainment room. So whatever I use needs to be wife approved. Those racks from a looks point of view weren't. And the other thing is I'm not spending $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 on a rack. When you have different flooring in different room and different components, a rack is going to, different types of racks are going to work differently in your system. To spend $20,000 on a rack that may not gel right with your system would be heartbreaking. Whereas when you get into something like a Sound Chaos, you're into it for much less money, and you have much more flexibility because I could always put a concrete slab under this or a marble slab. I could always put them under the rack, the stand. There's so many different ways to use these to get the best sound possible. Some people say you use all 4. Some people say, well, no, that may be too much vibration. Maybe use only 3. You can try and see what works best for you to fine tune that sound. Now they do come with the screws here, and normally you would screw them into the actual footers of your gear or your speakers. I did not do that because I didn't want to start opening up the gear that I have and trying to get in with the underneath the PC boards and all that stuff. Also, I do intend to try and get these under my speakers. The problem I'm having with that is that those speakers are like 160 pounds each and they're 4.5 feet tall. I just need to get the manpower to help that happen. But I'm very excited to try and get those under those fine audios and see the difference that that makes. These, I'm sure, will certainly be an eye-opening experience in regard to that. They do have a nice piece of felt here, so I'm not scratching up my wood shelf or my floors or anything like that. And they're just really well made, and it's really nice because we see so many components and gear and pieces where you spend money on it and it looks like they're kind of just thrown together. This clearly is a lot of thought and a lot of finesse put into the product, which I appreciate. So now let's get down to sound. How does it sound? It definitely, I'll say this, I've heard a lot of different vibration control components, shelves, footers, everything in between. And there are those that make it worse, there are those that make no difference, and there are those that make it better, and there are those that make it a lot better. This is absolutely the Sound Chaos, the Vibra 68s, are top tier in terms of making the sound noticeably better. And what I tried is, I'm going to tell you the sound difference that I noticed, but I'm also going to tell you how I tried them. First, I tried them under the streamer, then I tried them under just the DAC, and then I tried them under both components. There was definitely a noticeable difference with both under the streamer and then under the DAC. There was a bigger improvement with the DAC than with just the streamer, which doesn't surprise me. The DAC is tube-based, so that makes sense that there's more vibrations and things of that nature that it's fighting against. But it was still a worthwhile upgrade even on just the streamer. Of course, the biggest difference for the positive, which is not always a given, but it was a positive experience even more when I put them under both components, because I do have 8 of these, and they come in this great, beautiful crafted wood box. Here's what it looks like, the presentation when you receive it, except they'd be wrapped up a little bit more. Here's your little screws. So I have 8 of these, and I tried them under one of each and then both. The difference that I noticed when I played my test tracks, whether it be the Above and Beyond Liquid Love, the live version at the Hollywood Bowl where it was recorded, great recording, or Jose Carreras, Kiri, it was similar across the different music. When the crowd comes on Above and Beyond, or when the choir comes on with Jose Carreras, very open, very airy. You could hear individual voices, you could hear individual people cheering. It sounded more like an individualized live event rather than just a mass of noise. It also allowed on some of the songs that were brighter recording, it seemed to tame that a little bit, but what was weird is that it didn't take out any brightness overall on any of the other songs. Music overall sounded very snappy, had great rhythm, had good pickup and drive. The bass was there. It did not diminish from the bass at all like some other footers or other vibration control products do. There were no discernible negative effects that I could hear by adding this. It was only positives. And again, the more I added to different components, the more that effect became more positive. Did not try it under the amp. The amp is 90 pounds. Frankly, I just couldn't lift the amp to get them under it. So I did not try it under that. But in terms of the other components, it definitely was a value add in terms of what it brought to the sound. So there's really not much I can say without repeating myself over and over, other than to say that the Sound Chaos, the Vibra 68s, are a definite positive add in sound quality. They are among the best I've heard in vibration control. I think it's a smart move when you start doing something like this over a rack, because you could, again, do all my components for 1/5 the cost or 1/3 the cost of some of these racks, and I've got the flexibility, and I can move it, and I can do what I need to. That makes more sense to me than spending the money on a big expensive rack. So I think this is the way to go. I love the Vibra 68s, really good. I think you'd like them too. Check them out down below with the link and what they do. And guys, definitely from a vibration control point of view, they are a top tier, which is going to beat, and I'm going to tell you, surpass a lot of the other stuff, especially the rubber-based products. I'm not a fan of them or their sound. I'd stay away from them. Certainly try it if you have a return policy, but I'd pass go and just go right to something like a Sound Chaos. Guys, let me know down below if you're using any vibration control, what your experience has been, what type of shelves you're using. I'd love to know. I'd love to hear what your experience has been and what you like and don't like. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.